Hello. So, relevant to my last vlog, um, which was a guided meditation, today I'm going to talk about a deep meditational experience. So I'm going to talk a little bit about meditation and the jhanas. The jhanas in Buddhist philosophy are levels of attainment of meditation leading to the highest state of nibbana or nirvana, depending whether you're talking Pali or Sanskrit, or enlightenment to us in the West. And having been a monk in the Theravada tradition of forest monks of Thailand, I was sort of schooled in that way of thinking. Right, so I'm going to talk about my meditation, a deep meditational experience. I've been meditating for, I think I said, something like 35 years. So it's quite a long time, and a few years in a monastery, which were like another 10 years or more worth of meditating out in the world, as I might have mentioned before. So before I tell you what my meditational experience was, I did briefly mention it in another video. And in meditation, the art is to slow your thoughts and not become attached to your thoughts, whether it's thoughts, pictures, feelings, or whatever comes up in meditation. You notice them and let them go and carry on to deeper states of meditation. And you can get to a point where you stop all thoughts. Well, can you say you stop thoughts? That's an interesting thought. I mean, I'm not sure if you stop thoughts, but I think you just go beyond the mind of thoughts. So there is no thoughts. You go to different places or different levels of consciousness or vibrational frequency. Something like that. So what I'll do is I'll tell you what the jhanas are. So the jhanas are the levels of attainment, which I may have just mentioned a minute ago, on the way to enlightenment. And there are the 4 material jhanas and the 4 immaterial. So normally they list them as the 4 jhanas generally, and then there's the immaterial, which is the 1st, 2nd, 3rd and 4th immaterial, but you could say it's the 5th, 6th, 7th and 8th jhana. And then beyond the 8th jhana you start to become, start coming to the place of enlightenment, or yes, to a place of enlightenment, let's say that. So first I'm going to tell you what the jhanas are before I tell you about my experience and where I think my experience lies within that list of jhanas. So I've got it written down here just to make it easier for me to talk about it and to represent it. The first jhana, and this is taken from, I think it's the Abhidhamma, which is part of the Pali Canon. The Pali Canon are like the Buddhist scriptures, and it's taken from there. So that's in the way it's written, you'll see. So the first jhana, it says, and this is they kind of quote what the Buddha said at the time, because the Buddha's teachings were originally oral for the first 500 years. So he was alive. When was he alive? 2,500 years ago. And we know his name, Siddhartha Gautama. So he had a name, he had a family. And I think in India they can trace back his family to the modern day. I might be wrong, but I think they can, of who they think, of who he was. So he was just a man, but he attained, and he brought forth the teaching, which is called Buddhism. So his name wasn't Buddha. Buddha is a title given to someone who is enlightened, really. I think it's translated as the Shining One, I think, or something like that. But it's kind of immaterial. It was an oral tradition, and then 500 years after his passing, it started to be written down. And so this is obviously the written form of what was passed down. And so the first jhana, quite secluded from sense pleasures, secluded from unwholesome states of mind, he enters and dwells in the first jhana, which is accompanied by applied thought and sustained thought, with rapture and happiness, born of seclusion. In meditation, you are achieving a one-pointed state of mind, so you concentrate on your breathing generally. Anapanasati is the term for it, and it's watching the breath, so it's the rising and falling, which I did in my guided meditation. I did the rising and falling of the abdomen, because that's what I used to do. But some people concentrate on the feeling of the breath coming in and out of the nose as it comes in and it goes out. So there's different ways of doing it. Well, what you use that as an anchor, a point of concentration. So you look at that as a way of not looking at thoughts that come up. It's kind of a distraction. It's something for you to sort of hold on to. And that's why you do attain a sort of a higher state of concentration through the practice of meditation. It's another benefit of meditation. It can improve your concentration. You'll have the ability to concentrate single-pointedly on a single thing. So he secluded from unwholesome states of mind. So just avoiding, well, not really avoiding, it's just letting go of all the thoughts that may arise, no matter what they are, unwholesome or otherwise. Which is accompanied, so he dwells in the first jhana, which is accompanied by applied thought. So you're applying your thought to the breathing, etc. You're applying your mind to being one-pointed and sustaining it, sustained thought, with rapture and happiness born of seclusion. So you can get sort of a happiness and a rapture. That is the first jhana. You feel that kind of rapture and happiness because you've attained a kind of point of concentration, where you letting go of things, and seclusion because you're going to be in a quiet place. And the second jhana, with the subsiding of applied thought and sustained thought, he enters and dwells in the second jhana, which has internal confidence and unification of mind, is without applied thought and sustained thought, and is filled with rapture and happiness born of concentration. So I guess this is a continuation of what I was saying about concentrating. And then it says with the subsiding of applied thought. So you're in the first jhana, it's an effort to really apply your thought to try and hold on to the breathing, and things take you away and you just take yourself back to watching the breathing. And you get to a point where you get a feeling of rapture and happiness. Well, maybe not rapture, but happiness, in a feeling of joy in what you're doing. And then normally the jhanas, as they move on, it's the taking away of something from the first jhana and replacing it with something else. So it says with the subsiding of applied thought and sustained thought. So they fall away, and he just has the internal confidence and unification of mind. So the mind is it's coming more together, being less scattered really in a way, and then it becomes comfortable in being single-pointed. It is without applied thought and sustained thought, so you don't have to constantly be thinking about the breathing and everything. You're just there now, and that has a rapture and happiness. I think rapture is just the word they're using, it's the one that's been translated from the original writings. And happiness born of concentration. So then the third jhana, with the fading away of rapture. So they've taken away rapture, which I guess is a happiness and joy, isn't it, rapture? So you still have happiness and joy in the first two jhanas, which is fair. But in the third jhana, the fading away of rapture, he dwells in equanimity, mindful and discerning, and he experiences in his own person that happiness of which the Noble One says, "Happily lives he who is equanimous and mindful. Thus he enters and dwells in the third jhana. So equanimity, it's like everything is equal, right? It's just like a more, I think it's a wider feeling of happiness and concentration. Well, I suppose concentration is still there, but equanimity, mindful and discerning. So you're still of mind really there, obviously, and discerning. So I don't know, it's a way of explaining it. It's just another level of what it is. He experiences in his own person that happiness. So the noble one is the Buddha. They refer to him as the noble one sometimes. And as the Buddha said, happily lives he who is equanimous and mindful. So that is entering the third jhana. So the fourth jhana, so this is the last of the material jhanas. These are the first four. And this is quite a feat really to get even to the fourth jhana. You're doing really well. With the abandoning of pleasure and pain, and with the previous disappearance of joy and grief, he enters and dwells in the fourth jhana, which has neither pain nor pleasure, and has purity of mindfulness due to equanimity. So that equanimity is continuing. So now it says the abandoning of pleasure and pain. The pain could be, your legs are hurting, you've been sitting for half an hour, or some painful thoughts, but also of pleasure, which is interesting, right? So before in the first three, or the first two, you have rapture, and then you still have equanimity, which is still a joyful state, I would say. And then it says the abandoning of pleasure and pain. So that's like a growing of the equanimous state. To be equanimous in equanimity is everything is equal, isn't it? So you're just feeling equal about everything. There's sort of more of a plainness. It feels like a non-feeling. So it's not like you become an unfeeling automaton or something like that. But it's just in this state of, it's just in this way of being through meditation. You're reaching a state where nothing is really bothering you. You're just in a very equal state to everything. Pleasure or pain is equal to everything. Not that it's more, but just that you don't notice it. It doesn't bother you. Nothing's really bothering you. And the purity of mindfulness due to equanimity. So after that, the fourth jhana, you start to enter, which are things which are called the higher states. The higher states, they're called the immaterial jhanas, which are the higher states of mind. The immaterial jhanas are designated not by numerical names like their predecessors, but by the names of their objective spheres. So it's the sphere. It's really hard because you come into a point now of where it's hard to explain in words what the experience is and what it is. So they're calling it a sphere. It's like a plane of being. So they call it a sphere. Oh, why a sphere? It's interesting, isn't it? Why the word sphere? But it's other states of being, basically, much finer states of being, which is more, the first four is more to do with the mind, and now you're really leaving the mind and the body, and you're experiencing another realm of being. That's why I call it a sphere, rather than we could call it, well, no, that's fairly good. That's fairly good. I mean, there are different frequency realms and realms of beings, and I think you're starting to enter those really. The first immaterial jhana is the sphere of the base of boundless space. So it's hard. So boundless space is just that. I think you experience. Yes, it's where like you come to the edge. An experience for me was, I think this is what it was actually, and now I'm thinking about it. It was it's like, for me it's like coming to the edge of a cliff, and you stop and you're in awe of, the cliff goes away, and it's an endless bottomless cliff. It's into like infinity. So it's standing on the edge of infinity, was my experience. And it sort of takes your breath away. And you're like, it's like that to really feel, it's hard to explain, to feel infinity. It's scary. I ran back from it quite quickly. And that was my first experience. My experience of these states or spheres is the first time you enter them. And everyone's experience is different and unique. So what I have to say is, I was going to say at the end, but I'll say it now because I seem to have come to that point. I'm going with the flow. That these are all these levels of being. These are guides to what you may experience on your journey of meditation and to enlightenment. You may not experience all of these, and I've jumped some of these states, so I can't say each one. And that's a mistake some people can have as meditators, as monks or nuns even, is they're waiting to get. All that idea of getting something is a mistake. As long as you're craving for something, trying to get something, you never get it. It never comes, because it's your mind. You're grasping with your mind. You need to let go of everything. For me, it's a letting go, a complete letting go of everything. And as long as you're waiting to have this experience, to see this level, then you might never experience it. And for me, I didn't experience some of these, so I seem to have jumped them. I may have. So it's not like you will experience all of these, but these are things you could experience along the way. So you shouldn't take these as hard and fast, things that you will experience in meditation. This is a guide that many people, through being on the path, have said that they recognize. Okay? So that was boundless space. The second immaterial jhana is the sphere of the base of boundless consciousness. So everyone may be different, and I skipped one of the, so I say some of these. So the base of boundless consciousness would be, I guess, realizing that you are still there, and you are whatever it is that you are, but you're feeling consciousness expanding, going out, perhaps to infinity, or just going out and like there's no end. So there's a different feeling to it. And then the third immaterial jhana is the sphere of the base of nothingness. So the third and the fourth, I said them both because it suits what I'm going to say. The third is a sphere of the base of nothingness, and the fourth is a sphere of the base of neither perception nor non-perception. Just to say, they receive the designation of immaterial or formless, which is arupa, because they are achieved by surmounting all perceptions of material form, including the subtle form of the counterpart sign which served as the object of the previous jhana, which is what I was saying before about the next jhana is you lose what you had in the first jhana and it's replaced with something else. And because they are subjective correlates of the immaterial planes of existence. So the immaterial planes of existence. Whatever that is, right? And do beings dwell there? I don't know, but when you're going through this is, you may experience beings, I don't know. I didn't experience beings in meditation in those planes. But it's not to say that they're not there, that you don't. Now I say the last two, the base of nothingness and the base of neither perception nor non-perception, because my experience was of one of the immaterial jhanas, one of the much higher level planes of existence, and I can only tell you what it was like in a sort of poetic form, if you like, in a way of using an analogy, etc. That's the only way to explain it. And so it was like I was in a deep, dark cave, and I couldn't see anything in this cave, but I was on the shore of a big pond or lake within this cave, and I was not aware of being in a cave, and I was not aware of the pond. Everything was very still. There was nothing there. It was just a nothingness, which relates to the base of nothingness. But also, I had absolutely no idea of myself. I had no perception. So it says space of neither perception nor non-perception. What is non-perception? Neither perception nor non-perception. I had no perception. What's a non-perception? I'm not really sure how to explain that. Maybe someone out there does. Maybe one of you knows. Perception or non-perception as a whole sort of thing. The base of neither perception nor non-perception. I keep saying it. Doesn't make it any clearer. But I was in kind of that state because I had no perception of myself, no perception of mind, or of the nothingness. Or, yes, I had no perception of perception. So maybe that's what it means. I had no perception or non-perception. There was just absolutely nothing. It wasn't like there was nothing there. There was not even me here. So I think I was possibly at the last one, although it does correlate with the base of nothingness. But to carry on with my explanation of it. So I was in this place of nothingness, and there was this lake or pond, completely still and quiet, absolutely nothing there, a dark cave, and it was such that I didn't even know that I was there. I was not in any form, not in, totally beyond obviously the physical form. There's no physical form, and there's no mental form, no mental ideas, nothing. It's very hard to imagine, but absolutely nothing. And what happened? It was like a pebble, a small pebble had dropped into this pond. And once the pebble was dropped, it hit the pond and it made ripples. And the ripples came out from the pebble towards the shore of the pond. Now once the pebble was dropped, it was like sound. But there was no sound. I didn't hear a sound. But it's like the pebble dropped. Yeah, no, it's better to say it was like the pebble was dropped and it made ripples. And as the ripples touched the sides of the pond, but not at the same time, it was like different sides of the pond. The ripples reached it at different moments. So what happened was my sense of sound came back. And after sound came back, came the realization of me. There was suddenly a me, that I was there. And then there was feelings and sensations. And then I was back in the room. So it was like I'd gone. But the coming back was all of my senses that are related to having a physical body. They came back kind of one at a time, and I think hearing was first, and then there's an I, there's a me, and then there was feeling, then there was thought, and then I was back and I could open my eyes. Now that I had plenty of experiences of disappearing after that in meditation, where I would just be gone. And then I come back and maybe half an hour had passed, maybe an hour had passed. but there was no experience of coming back. For me, the experience of these jhanas is the first time. The first time you go there, you have the experience. For me it was, but everyone is different. And no one is the same. So we all have our own unique experience of what this was. And that was my experience. No thoughts, but no me, no I, no self, no nothing. And after the base of neither perception nor non-perception, the next step along, I think, is into enlightenment. I think there's one more step before enlightenment. There's what they call arahants. So the Buddha had that title because he attained enlightenment, and he'd gone and found all the information he wants to bring back to make a teaching to help everyone else to reach this state of enlightenment, where then suddenly you have access to knowledge of everything. That was kind of one of my spurs for meditation and to do this, was because I was searching for answers. So I had lots of experiences from UFOs, aliens and psychic stuff and paranormal, all these things. So I had many questions, and I was told that these things don't exist. And when I said I saw a UFO or aliens, no one believed me, of course. And why would they? Because unless you have that experience, why would you believe it? You should be sceptical. I think it's good to be sceptical, to keep yourself grounded, not just believe everything. And ghosts, I mean, I've experienced ghosts, etc. And all of these things, after when I was 13, I had an interaction with ETs from a landed craft. And I think that really cracked my consciousness open in my mind. And I had all sorts of I did have a ghost experience before that, but after that I had lots of other psychic experiences, saw my own future once, and I may get a glimpse of it since then, but there's one time I absolutely saw like a video replay of the future of myself doing something, but it was kind of an everyday sort of occurrence. It wasn't nothing spectacular that happened, but it was just a knowing that, just that experience of knowing that I'd seen the future. That kind of blew my mind. So all of these things, I wanted answers, or looking for answers for questions, and science didn't give me any of them. Science says that a lot of these things don't even exist. So what use is science? Science is supposed to investigate all these things open-mindedly. But no, there's a massive status quo within science. Not individual people or individual scientists, but in science. There's a definite control, as there is in the world, of controlling everything and controlling the status quo of how they say things are. And if something challenges it, they don't like it particularly. So science couldn't give me any answers, refused to give me any answers. So I had to search elsewhere. Okay, so that's what I wanted to say. I wanted to tell you my experience. And so hopefully that encourages people to investigate meditation, maybe take it up for yourselves, find a local group and start doing it for yourself. Start improving your life and helping your mental health and enjoying doing meditation. If this has inspired you to do that, I hope it has. So okay, thanks for watching and listening, and I'll see you in the next video. Thank you.